Welcome to FearBound Stories. Please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now let's begin. I drive this highway almost every night. Same stretch of asphalt, same worn white lines, same distant gas station sign blinking like it's struggling to stay awake. Over time, roads become predictable, comforting even. You stop thinking about where you're going and let muscle memory handle the drive. That's why the moment I noticed something new, my body reacted before my mind did. A green highway sign stood just beyond mile marker 42. Exit 42B, Riverwood. I sat up straighter in my seat. That exit had never been there. I had driven this road for years. Late night shifts, early morning returns, holidays, storms. There was no Riverwood, no 42B, just a straight highway cutting through farmland until the next major town. My GPS didn't blink, no chime, no suggestion. I slowed slightly, staring at the sign as it passed, convincing myself it must be recent construction. Temporary, poor lighting. But something felt wrong. Not confusion, recognition. The kind you get when something sensory clashes violently with memory. I checked my rearview mirror. The sign wasn't behind me. Not dim, not fading. Completely gone. My palms dampened against the steering wheel. I drove another few minutes in silence, heart thudding a little harder than before. Then I saw it again. Exit 42B, Riverwood. Same sign, same reflective lettering. Same impossible presence. This time the arrow beneath it pulsed faintly, not flickering, breathing. Before I could think, my GPS crackled like an old radio trying to find a signal. Then a calm, clear voice spoke. "Take the next exit." Relief washed over me. Too much relief. Heavy relief. As if some part of me had been waiting to hear it. I merged. The moment my tires hit the off-ramp, the world went quiet. No highway noise, no wind, no distant engines. Just the soft hum of my tires rolling over pristine pavement. The air felt thicker, heavier, like humidity without heat. My headlights carved into darkness that swallowed their reach almost immediately. Trees rose on either side of the road, tall, old, their branches twisting together overhead until no stars were visible. I glanced in my mirror. The highway was gone. Not obscured. Gone. My breathing turned shallow. A wooden sign passed through my headlights. "Welcome to Riverwood. Please drive slow." My speed fell without my foot touching the brake. 45, 35, 25. The radio clicked on by itself. Static hissed, then faded. A familiar voice followed. "Almost there." I reached for the knob. It wouldn't turn. I pulled again. Nothing. The road opened unexpectedly into a town street. Warm porch lights glowed softly on both sides. Houses stood evenly spaced, pristine, untouched by age or neglect. Parked cars lined every curb, perfectly aligned. Too perfect. No windows glowed with televisions. No silhouettes moved behind curtains. It felt like a film set after the cast had vanished. Then I noticed the driveways. Every single one held a car. My car. Same dent on the rear panel. Same cracked headlight. Same license plate. Dozens of them. I slammed the brakes and sat frozen, my hands shaking uncontrollably. My phone buzzed. "Missed call, Mom. Timestamp, 6:43 p.m. I looked at the dashboard clock. 6:43 p.m. I distinctly remembered leaving work well after dark. My chest tightened. Headlights flicked on at the far end of the street. Another car rolled toward me. Slow, deliberate. As it passed beneath a street lamp, I saw the driver. It was me. Older, thinner, eyes sunken and empty. He didn't look at the road. He looked directly at me. His mouth moved. My radio whispered his words a second later. "You weren't supposed to miss the exit." One by one, the streetlights shut off. Click, click, click. My engine stalled. The dashboard went dark. The doors unlocked with a soft, welcoming click. In the surrounding darkness, I heard car doors opening all around me. Footsteps, dozens of them, calm, patient. My phone vibrated once more. Incoming call, you. I stared at it until the screen went black. If you ever see an exit you don't remember, don't slow down. Don't trust the GPS. Don't listen to the voice. Because once you leave the highway, the road keeps you. Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I first noticed the headlights in my rearview mirror a little after midnight. It wasn't unusual. This highway was mostly empty at night but not abandoned. A few long-haul trucks, the occasional late driver, headlights came and went. These didn't. They stayed far enough back to be polite, but close enough that I couldn't forget them. Two pale white points in the darkness, perfectly centered behind my car. I drove on. 10 minutes later, they were still there. I sped up slightly, rolling from 60 to 70. The headlights maintained the exact same distance. No surge forward, no falling back. Just matching me. I slowed down instead. 60, 55, 50. Still there. I told myself it was coincidence. Adaptive cruise control. Someone zoning out on a long drive. It happens. But then I changed lanes. The headlights moved with me. Perfectly. I felt the skin between my shoulders tighten. I took the next exit, looping through a deserted service road that curved back toward the highway. If the car was just heading the same direction, it would pass me or turn away. As I completed the loop and merged back onto the main road, they reappeared in my mirror. Same distance, same height, same cold, even glow. That's when I noticed something wrong. They weren't bouncing. Headlights should rise and dip slightly with the road, responding to cracks, slopes, imperfections. These stayed level, smooth, fixed in place, like they were painted onto the night itself. I turned on my hazard lights, then switched them off. The headlights blinked in perfect sync. My pulse started to hammer. I took my phone from the cup holder, pretending I was calm, and turned on the camera. I held it up, recording through the windshield toward the mirror. On the screen, the road behind me was empty. No headlights. No car. I lowered the phone slowly and looked again with my own eyes. They were still there. My throat went dry. I pushed the speedometer past 80. The engine whined in protest. The road narrowed, trees pressing in on both sides. The headlights kept pace. Not gaining, not losing, just watching. I exited again, this time onto a darker, narrower route I knew would take me through farmland. No lights, no houses, nothing out there except open fields and the occasional rusted fence. The exit ramp curved sharply. The headlights didn't fade as I expected. They followed. As my tires hit the smaller road, the world grew quieter. No distant traffic, no glow from the city behind me. The headlights behind me dimmed suddenly. Then one by one they shut off completely. Darkness swallowed the road behind me. I should have felt relief. Instead, dread flooded in. I glanced into the mirror again. The car was still there. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. Like when you know someone is standing just behind you in a quiet room. Then the radio turned on. Static washed through the cabin. A voice emerged, distorted but clear enough to understand. Don't stop. My hands clenched the wheel. I'm not stopping, I whispered, even though I hadn't meant to speak. The voice crackled, amused. You already did. My speedometer read 40. I hadn't touched the brakes. The headlights behind me flared back to life in a sudden, blinding white burst. Closer now, much closer. They filled my mirrors. I swerved, heart racing, and that's when I saw it. There was no car behind me, just headlights, floating, suspended at windshield height, gliding forward smoothly, silently, like eyes moving through the dark. I screamed and slammed the accelerator. The road ahead stretched unnaturally long, the trees blurring into black walls. My dashboard lights flickered. The radio howled with static and overlapping voices, whispers layered over whispers. "I followed you a long time," one voice said. "You're very good at driving away." The headlights surged closer. I smelled something burning, not the engine, something electrical, acrid. My phone vibrated. No signal, no bars, just an incoming call. Unknown caller. I didn't answer. The headlights suddenly split apart, drifting to either side of my car, pacing me like predators. For a moment, they illuminated the interior of my vehicle, and I saw something reflected in the side window. A shape in the back seat, sitting upright, still, not breathing. I didn't look directly at it. I couldn't. The voice returned, softer now. "We didn't mean to scare you, we just needed you to notice." The engine stalled. The car coasted to a slow, helpless roll. The headlights moved forward, circling, bathing the road in harsh white light. My doors unlocked. In the sudden silence, I heard footsteps approaching from all directions. Not running, walking, patient, close. I squeezed my eyes shut and covered my ears as something brushed past the side of the car. Metal groaned. Then the engine roared back to life. I didn't think, I just drove. I never looked in the mirror again. I didn't stop until I reached the glow of the city, bursting through streetlights and traffic signals like air after drowning. When I finally dared to check my rearview mirror, there was nothing there. No headlights. No darkness clinging too close. Nothing. For weeks after, every time I drive at night, I feel them. Not behind me. Waiting. For the moment I slow down again. Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. They were already tired when they left. Not exhausted, not falling asleep at the wheel. Just that deep, quiet tiredness that settles into your bones after midnight. The kind that makes everything feel slightly unreal. Streetlights blur longer than usual. Music feels distant. Conversation fades in and out. The dashboard clock read 1:42 a.m. The highway was nearly empty, stretched thin and quiet beneath the glow of their headlights. At first, the drive was peaceful. The road hummed softly beneath the tires. Trees lined both sides, blending into one long, dark wall. Every few miles, a faded reflector flashed and vanished. Then the road curved sharply to the right, and something appeared ahead. A car. Stopped. Right in the middle of the lane. The driver slammed the brakes without thinking. The seatbelt bit into his chest as the car skidded to a stop less than 10 feet from the rear bumper ahead. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The car in front of them didn't have its hazards on. No headlights, no brake lights. It just sat there, dark and silent, as if it had been placed there deliberately. "That's not normal," she whispered. He reached for his phone. The screen lit up, but there was no signal, no bars, no emergency call. The paint on the stopped car looked strange, too matte, almost swallowing the light instead of reflecting it. The windows were blacked out so completely, they didn't even shine. Then he noticed the license plate. He leaned forward slightly, narrowing his eyes. It took a few seconds for his brain to accept what he was seeing. The plate number was identical to his. Same letters, same numbers. Even the small scuff on the bottom left corner matched. "I don't like this," she said. Her voice was barely a breath. "I think that's our car," he replied, and immediately regretted saying it out loud. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." As if responding to him, the brake lights on the stopped car flickered on. Slowly. Not all at once. One bulb glowed, then the other. like eyes opening reluctantly. The driver's door creaked open. A figure stepped out. Same height as him, same build, same jacket. The hood hung the same way, folding at the shoulders in exactly the same places. The figure stood beside the car for a long moment, facing away. Then its head turned slightly toward them, just enough for the headlights to catch the face. It wasn't a face, not properly. It was smooth, unfinished, like someone had tried to remember what a person looked like and given up halfway. The figure raised its arm and pointed directly at them. The engine cut out. The dashboard went black. The headlights died. Darkness rushed in thick and heavy. Then came the tapping. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't coming from outside the car. It was coming from inside, from the back seat. She screamed and twisted around, her hands clawing at his arm. "There's someone back there," she cried. The rear seat was empty, but the seat belt moved on its own. The strap slid out slowly and clicked into the buckle. The radio crackled to life. Static breathed through the speakers. Then voices pushed through the noise. Their voices. Laughing, talking, joking about dinner, about the drive home. A conversation they had already had. Seconds later, the figure outside spoke. Its voice did not come from the road. It came from the speakers. "You already made the drive," it said calmly. "Now you stay in the lane." The headlights snapped back on without warning. The road ahead was empty. No car, no figure, no sign of anything ever being there. The engine roared back to life. Neither of them said a word. They drove the rest of the way home in complete silence, both staring straight ahead, afraid to look at the mirrors. When they finally pulled into the driveway, it was nearly dawn. The house looked normal, safe, quiet. They sat there for a full minute before getting out. Later that morning, he went to the garage to grab something from the trunk. When he lifted it open, he froze. Inside was a license plate. His license plate, warm to the touch, smudged with dirt and oil, like it had just been ripped off asphalt. And bolted onto his car outside was a clean, brand new replacement. Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. He had driven this road hundreds of times. It was the fastest way home after late shifts, a narrow stretch that cut through farmland before joining the highway again. Boring. Predictable. The kind of road you stop noticing after a while. That's why the flashing lights felt wrong immediately. They weren't police lights. No red, no blue. Just a slow amber pulse ahead, dull and patient, like something waiting rather than warning. He slowed down. At the edge of the road sat a small sedan, pulled onto the gravel shoulder. Its hazard lights blinked lazily, illuminating tall grass and rustling leaves. Someone stood next to it. The figure was waving. At first, he thought it was a normal breakdown. He checked his mirrors. The road behind him was empty, no other cars coming. He hesitated. Then he pulled over. The engine ticked softly as he stepped out into the cold night air. Crickets had gone quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause. "Hey," he called. "You okay?" The figure turned slowly. It was a man about his age wearing a dark jacket and jeans. Nothing unusual. Except his posture felt off, like he was slightly misaligned, shoulders tilted just a bit too far forward. "My phone isn't working," the man said. His voice was calm but flat. "Can you give me a ride?" Something tightened in his stomach. The road felt farther away now, like it had stretched while his back was turned. "I'm heading that way anyway," he said, gesturing vaguely. "Where are you going?" The man smiled. "Home." He didn't like that answer. Still, he nodded and walked back to his car. The man followed, footsteps soft and measured. When the passenger door opened, the interior light flicked on. For a moment, the seat was empty. Then the man was sitting there. No sound of movement, no shifting weight, just suddenly present. They drove. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. The road ahead seemed longer than it should have been, the darkness stretching until his headlights barely reached the pavement. He glanced at the passenger. The man stared straight ahead, hands folded neatly in his lap. His reflection in the window didn't quite match his movements. It lagged slightly, like a delayed video feed. "Do you live around here?" he asked. "Yes," the man replied instantly. "Which house?" The man's smile widened just a fraction. "The one that lets me in." The temperature inside the car dropped sharply. His breath fogged the windshield even though the heat was still running. The radio snapped on without warning. Static flooded the cabin, followed by a faint tone that rose and fell like breathing. The voice came through slowly. "You stopped." He reached for the radio. It wouldn't turn off. The voice continued. "You shouldn't stop again." The passenger turned toward him. Only his head moved. The rest of his body stayed perfectly still. "People who stop don't finish the drive," the man said quietly. He slammed the brakes. The car screeched and came to a violent halt. The passenger seat was empty. No door had opened. No sound followed. Just silence. Heart pounding, he looked at the road around him. It wasn't farmland anymore. Houses lined both sides now, old and sagging. Porches collapsed, windows dark. Rusted cars sat in driveways like abandoned bones. They hadn't existed a minute ago. His phone buzzed. No signal still, but a message was there. Unknown number. "You were supposed to keep driving." The headlights began to dim. Not flicker, dim, like something was slowly turning the night down. He put the car in gear and pressed the accelerator. As he drove, he saw movement on the porches, figures standing just beyond the light, watching, waiting. Then he saw his own car ahead, parked sideways in the road, blocking the way. Its hazards blinked amber. The driver's door was open. Someone stood beside it, waving. The same man, smiling. He screamed and swerved, accelerating past the scene. The road twisted violently, curving farther than physics should allow. Then suddenly the highway burst into view. Bright lights, traffic, normal noise. He didn't stop driving until sunrise. Later that day, he returned to the stretch of road where he had pulled over. There was no gravel shoulder, no tire marks, no sign of any stopped car. But next to the road was a small wooden cross, weathered, old. Attached to it was a faded photo of a man standing beside a broken down car, hand raised in a wave. The man looked exactly like him. It was never meant to be a long stop, just fuel, a drink, maybe a bathroom break. The gas station sat alone off the highway, glowing pale and exhausted under flickering fluorescent lights. Everything beyond the pumps dissolved into darkness. No nearby buildings, no distant headlights, just empty road and humming insects. He parked close to the entrance. The moment he shut off the engine, the silence settled in too quickly. It didn't fade in. It dropped, like the sound had been cut instead of ending naturally. Inside the store, the air smelled faintly stale, like old coffee and plastic. No cashier stood at the counter. No music played. The only sound came from the buzzing lights overhead and a refrigerator knocking somewhere in the back. He grabbed a bottle of water and set it on the counter. The self-checkout screen blinked awake slowly, as if half asleep. While it processed the payment, he glanced toward the front window. That's when he saw the car. It sat near the edge of the lot, just at the border where the light thinned into shadow. An older sedan. Dull paint. Engine running. Headlights off. Someone was inside. They didn't move. He felt a brief pinch of unease, then dismissed it. Night does that to you. You notice things you normally wouldn't. He left. Back on the highway, the road felt quieter than before. The dashboard clock read 12:31 a.m. The headlights carved a tunnel through the dark, and the lane markers slid beneath the hood in steady rhythm. 10 minutes passed. That's when he noticed the headlights behind him. Same distance, same position. At first they felt comforting, proof someone else was out there. He drove on. 15 minutes passed. The headlights never changed. Not when he passed slower traffic. Not when the road bent or straightened. Not when his speed shifted slightly without him realizing it. They stayed fixed. He adjusted the mirror, blinked, looked again. The spacing was wrong. Too exact. He sped up. They sped up. He slowed down. They slowed down. It felt less like being followed and more like being paced. A thought surfaced, unwelcome. The car at the gas station. He glanced again. The shape behind him looked similar. Same height, same uneven glow, same dull presence that didn't quite reflect light properly. His throat tightened. He took the next exit without signaling. The headlights followed. The exit peeled off into a rural stretch of road lined with fencing and empty fields. No lights, no houses. The darkness here felt deeper, heavier. The car stayed with him. After a few minutes, the pressure inside his ears began to rise, like a slow altitude change. His radio crackled once, then fell silent completely. The dashboard clock flickered. 12:58 a.m. That didn't make sense. He hadn't been driving that long. He checked the mirror again. The headlights were gone, but the car wasn't. He could still see it. A darker shape moving through darkness, close enough that he could make out the windshield. There was no one inside. A soft knock came from behind him. Not from outside, from within the car. His breath caught sharply. Another knock followed, slightly louder. Then another. From the back seat. "I'm just tired," he whispered. "I'm hearing things." The knocking continued. Slow, measured, patient. Every knock aligned with his heartbeat. He pressed the accelerator harder. The engine whined. The speedometer climbed. The knocking matched the motion. The radio turned on. A voice emerged, low and calm. "You left me." His stomach dropped. "I didn't pick anyone up," he said aloud, his voice shaking. The voice answered immediately. "You stopped." Cold crawled up his spine. "I didn't check the back seat," the voice continued. "You never do." The interior light flicked on. The back seat was empty, but the seatbelt moved. The strap slid out slowly, inch by inch, until it clicked into the buckle. Something exhaled near his ear. The headlights behind him flared suddenly, flooding the interior with white light as the car surged closer. The pressure inside the cabin intensified. His chest tightened, his ears rang. The road ahead curved sharply. Then, without warning, bright highway lights burst into view. Traffic, noise, normality. The car behind him vanished the instant he merged. No deceleration, no fading. Gone. He didn't slow down until dawn. When he finally stopped, his hands still shook. His shoulders ached like he'd been carrying weight for hours. His phone buzzed. Unknown sender. "You forgot something." A photo loaded beneath the message. It showed the inside of his car, taken from the back seat. The timestamp read 12:31 a.m. You've just crossed the boundary between reality and the unknown. If you felt the fear tonight, make sure to subscribe before you leave, because on this channel every story is just the beginning. New nightmares arrive every few nights, each one darker than the last. Until then, keep your lights low, your doors locked, and your mind open. You are now part of the FearBound family.